Hi there. I want to do a brief explanation of this ignition housing from a Mark V Volkswagen. I believe it's the same on the Mark VI and various models. Um, Short story long, I had mine lock up in the driveway the other day, went to go turn the key, and could hardly get a quarter of a turn out of it, if that. This happens with people also that go to turn their key off and can't get it out, and this part is what fails. I went to go get a replacement, and unfortunately I made the mistake of, before I put the switch in, I turned the internal mechanism backwards to line it up, and then I heard it click. The little button popped out for the steering wheel lock, and I could not get it to go back in. It was an expensive mistake. It from the dealer with a discount, it was a $180 part. If you're patient and you want to order one online, you can get an OEM one for about $85 shipped, or less if you want to buy one on Amazon. But anyways, I was pretty upset that I had ruined this brand new expensive part, and I didn't have the gall to take it back to the parts department and pretend like nothing happened. So what did I do? I took apart a brand new part into a million pieces and wanted to see if I could put it back together. And I did. So that one's already in the car. This is the old one, which is a little worn out, but I was hoping I could use it to give an explanation for anyone else that might be in this bind. So the one part that really messes with you, it's hard to see. There's this little tooth in here that's spring-loaded, and a lot of people will say to get rid of that tooth, you could try to drill out this hardened steel plug, which is not fun. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be really difficult. And if you're in a bind and you really needed to get your tumbler working, and I mean, go for it. Try to drill that out, and you might be able to use it. But to put it back together properly, there's this little groove in here that lines up with that tooth, and there's this metal rod that doesn't go through that way. Falls into that groove. Now if you press down on that metal tooth, and I was using for this punch because it's got a nice flat tip on it, you could reach in, push down on that rod, and as long as you're holding pressure, it'll hold that tooth in place. If you let go, it pops right back out. So the tricky part is with one hand holding that in place while you drop the rest of the mechanism in there. That mechanism is ultimately, it's got all kinds of moving parts. This is a two-part ordeal that's pretty easy to put together if it happens to come apart on you. That slides in there, and you've got these two springs on the end. These line up fairly easily if you drop it in. So let's see if I can put it together with one hand in front of the camera. So I'm going to push that tooth down. I'm going to push that rod with my punch. I'm going to try to hold it in there. This might be easier if you have a bench vise as well. So anyhow, try to drop that in one piece if you can. Might need to do it sideways. Push it down, then let go of that rod, and you're good. What I did for the rest of the assembly that I'm not going to do right now is I went ahead and taped all this up. Before that, however, in here there's a chunk of my housing missing. I don't know if you can see it. This should be solid right here, but there is this other little rod with a little spring in it, which I will try to assemble once again with one hand. I really wanted to make this a short video, but it's not happening, as luck calls. Anyhow, I used a pair of tweezers, and you can let up on this a little bit without that tooth falling back out. Just enough to, if your housing is in good shape, I might have to do this off camera, plug that back into the hole. You could use your tweezers to push it down past the housing and then push it all the way back in. So like I said, this one's damaged, so it's not going to go back together the right way. That is the point at which I tape this up. Now when you go to drop this unit back in, you want this little lump right here, this little cam lobe facing upward. and just push it on through, and you can see it through the other side. Oh, see, it's all falling apart. There's no really good way to do this. When you get that in, normally it would hold this in place. Or, oh no, it wouldn't hold it in place with just that. Then you'd want to finagle this guy back in there. It only goes in one way, but this is a two-piece unit. This little barrel can fall out if you have it aligned the right way. But once you get that in there, we're just going to pretend that this is in place. Oh, see, that's a good example of how the barrel falls out if it's not aligned right. I don't have the wherewithal at this point in time to, explain the idiosyncrasies of that. But when you get this fit in place, this little plastic snap ring goes down in there, holds all this in place. That rod should still be in there. And as long as you don't turn this backwards, don't turn it counterclockwise, that little tooth won't shoot out again. You could turn it forward when it's all said and done. I use my key because it just fit in there nice and snug. And you could turn it and you could feel it like on the actual ignition start position. You could feel that little spring-loaded portion where it goes forward to start and then releases back. And then you could just kind of get a feel for where it's supposed to stop and not go past that point where that little tooth is going to jump back out. At which point you can also get this lined up, and you could feel exactly like how that lines up. It turns about 180 degrees, so you could get a feel for it where it's supposed to be. I mean to be helpful, but I'm really making this sound more difficult than it is. It's really trial and error. I feel like these few little pointers will help you get it back together. Maybe one day I could do a better video. I'll have better parts so I could actually do it top to bottom. And I don't have an actual lock cylinder to help demonstrate that much anyways. So there's a few hints. I hope that helps, or you at least find it interesting. Good luck. I hope you don't get stuck out there.